Hi, my name is Andrew McCoy, and this is my story. I had a life-changing encounter with Jesus when I was really young. When I was raised in church, my parents were always faithful to bring us to church. We talked about God at home, we prayed, all those sorts of things. And so I was exposed or introduced to Jesus at a young age. And I don't really remember the exact age I was, but what I do remember is thinking, I don't want to be the boss of my own life. And that's something as an older brother and young kid, that's something that kind of stood out from the norm. So I remember having that experience and kind of from then on dedicating my life to following Jesus and how all that looks. It's never been perfect, of course, but through that journey, there have been times where I've been able to grow and mature and really rely on God and my relationship with Jesus for things that I come across, struggles, how to live my life, my intentions, and how I'm going to live my life, looking into those things and asking God for direction and comfort and wisdom, and He's always there to provide those for me. One of the things I'm most happy about by dedicating my life to Jesus early is I was able to avoid a lot of the pitfalls and traps that I saw a lot of people my age, a lot of my friends falling into. And so that was something that Jesus changed my life early on in that way. For a long time, I thought my testimony was kind of boring. I've heard people give their testimonies of they had long histories of things that they weren't proud of anymore, or they were people that they don't even like. But they met Jesus and He turned that all around. And my story is kind of like, well, I was young and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I gave my life to Jesus and here I am today. But looking at it now, I can see how God kept me from so many things. God insulated me from a lot of the pitfalls and traps I might have fallen into otherwise. So that's my story of how Jesus changed my life early on. But I did want to tell you a quick story of how Jesus is continuing to work in my life. I went to a retreat not too long ago where at that retreat there was a time of focus of getting yourself right with God, finding out where God wants to move in your life. And part of that was I thought I knew what God was going to deal with me with. I had a certain aspect or idea of where God's going to move in my life. And at that retreat, He moved completely out of nowhere, a place that I wasn't expecting. During a prayer time, I was praying really hard. I said, okay, God, where are you going to move in my life? And in my head, I was thinking, I know what He's going to say next. And He told me, I'm going to take anger away from you. And if you know me, surface level, I'm usually even keel. I'm happy. I like to be those kind of things. But anger is something I struggle with a lot, going into kind of fits of rage, bottling it all up and then blowing up. And usually that would be on people closest to me, the ones I really love. And when God told me He's going to take anger away from me, I thought, that's weird. That's not what I thought was going to happen. And I didn't know what to do with it. So I prayed. I said, well, thank you. I'm not angry right now, but I don't know if that's what you meant. But I got home from that retreat, and the next day I had left my lights on, and so my battery had died on my car. And so I hop in the car, I figure out my battery's dead, and I say, oh, shoot. Well, we're going to have to fix that. And my wife couldn't believe it. She said, that would have ruined your whole day a few days ago. And it was that moment I realized, oh, this is something, I didn't change anything in my life. God said, I'm taking this away from you, and He took it away from me. It was not but 3 or 4 days later, we learned that my wife was pregnant and we were going to have our first daughter. And I was so astonished at God's timing. He was working in my life at an area I didn't really know I needed to be working on. And it was all made clear to me when I realized we were pregnant that I didn't have to be an angry dad. And that was something that is such a blessing to me. And now my daughter's 3 years old. She's definitely pushing buttons. The anger can still rise, but every time I do get angry or frustrated, I think back to that time of God moving in my life in ways I couldn't anticipate or didn't see him working. And I'm so thankful for the relationship that he has allowed me to enter into with his son, Jesus. If you're interested in learning more about how you can enter a relationship with Jesus or how you can follow God, watch the video on this channel that our pastor made. It's called The Gift. I'd encourage you to do that. Thank you so much for listening to my story.